What is going on?
I trust God. Yes, sir. And it's gonna stay like that.
What's going on, everybody? So, as I'm sure you're aware, at this point, there has been a Canadian pastor who's been arrested. Some say it's unconstitutional. Others say that it goes against our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. But where do we really stand? Biblically, we're called to honor the government that's placed above us. So what does that mean? What does that look like in this day and age where you can't really do anything with the pandemic going on? For those of you on the outside who may not know, you are still allowed to operate at a certain capacity. This pastor here, he was told that he could operate at a third of his capacity. For him, he saw that as, well, what you're telling me then is I have to tell 2/3 of my congregation that no, you can't worship today. It's one of those things. It's really difficult, especially as a Canadian. We tend to be more passive in areas where maybe other people wouldn't be. That can be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing. But right now, we're going to hop into a video where it basically breaks down what happened, give you guys a little bit of background information if you haven't heard of it. If you're on the internet to any degree, I'm sure you're already aware of what's going on. But let's check it out.
Nearly a year into the COVID-19 pandemic, public health authorities say this church near Edmonton has repeatedly violated public health orders, holding sermons that surpass the 15% gathering capacity.
So stopping it right there, a lot of people would say, well, that's his own fault. He should be honoring our government, and he shouldn't be surpassing the limit that they've given us. Okay. I'll give you that.
This last Sunday, Pastor James Coates defended his decisions to his flock.
By meeting, we're testifying the government has no jurisdiction here, not with regard to our worship.
Alberta Health Services has fined Coates $1,200. The AHS and the RCMP have visited the church on multiple Sundays. On one occasion, they say they counted 300 people present, but only Coates has been arrested. His lawyer questions the use of the word pandemic despite nearly 1,800 Albertans succumbing to COVID-19 over the last year. He also says Coates can't hold his services simply online.
For Grace Life and a number of other Protestant churches, it is a violation of their sincerely held religious beliefs.
Coates has been charged with breaching the Public Health Act and is due in court at the end of March. Rafi Bujikanian, CBC News.
So there you have it. He says that he cannot operate online for whatever reason. I'm not too sure. I know our church has had no problem operating online, but we are further along technologically. Our congregation isn't as old as his congregation seems to be, so that might be an issue as well. Maybe they simply can't access it online. So there's a church in California that decided that they were going to change their status from a church to a strip club, because strip clubs were allowed to stay open at full capacity. So that's where we start to see issues. We understand that we're not supposed to go against our government, but at the same time, there are rules being made for other establishments that simply are not being allotted to the church. Some people will say the church is being persecuted. My personal stance on that is we are not being persecuted in the same way that other places are being persecuted. Real persecution is going on in the world. Christians are being persecuted. But I wouldn't say that this may be a starting point to further persecution, but I wouldn't say that at this point here the Christians in Canada are being persecuted. I wouldn't go that far. It's kind of a slap in the face to the Christians who are actually being murdered and who cannot pray in public, things like that. You know what I mean? So to reiterate, I would not say that Christian Canadians are being persecuted. However, in the States, the Supreme Court passed a law that they are not allowed to arrest pastors under these grounds, that it's just not something that can be done. So this is one of those things, you know what I mean? You want to honor your government. We want to make sure that we're doing things lawfully. But at the end of the day, if this church sees not being able to gather, and now I know you'll have a bunch of people saying, well, God's not only in the church. I get it. I understand that. God is not in the church. Well, God is in the church, but he's not only in the church. He's not confined to a building. Your relationship with God, if it's only happening on Sunday in a church, that's dangerous. That's scary. You need to start diving into your word. You need to start spending time in prayer, meditation. You need to spend time with God. It can't only be on a Sunday listening to what the pastor has to say. God will speak to you directly wherever you are. So I understand that. But now if this church determines that the body is being persecuted or that the body needs to assemble, because there is growth that happens when the body comes together. So it's one of those situations. It's a tough toss-up. I don't think he should have been arrested, but that's just my own personal view on it, my own opinion. We're all entitled to them. But no, I don't think he should have been put in jail. I don't. He was given fines, all of these things. But what do? I see where the government's put between a rock and a hard place. If they let it keep going on, how many other churches are just going to open their doors and let the crowds flood in, you know? But if they throw them in jail, then it's like Daniel in the lion's den, and you have all these people saying, oh, Christians are being persecuted. They didn't kill him. Like they didn't try to murder him. They put him in jail because they didn't know what else to do. I can understand both sides. I don't think it's right, but I understand why they went there. So before you start throwing stones at me, just try and realize that everybody's put in a very difficult situation right now. And all that we can do, realistically, is just pray that hearts are changed, that eyes are opened, and that whatever's going on currently would pass. That's all we can do. But I really, really want the underlying message of this video to be that it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter what happens to your pastor. Just keep praying, keep seeking God, and keep putting God first in your life. If you're praying and you're spending that intimate time with God, you're going to have revelations. He's going to speak to you directly. The Bible also very clearly reminds us not to fear man. It doesn't matter what men do to us. They can beat us, they can throw stones at us, they can murder us. It doesn't matter what they do to us. The Bible tells us to not fear. I'm actually going to read something here for you guys. It's found in Hebrews 13. I'm going to read chapters 1 through 6. Check this out. So this is in the English Standard Version. Let brotherly love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware. Remember those who are in prison, as though in prison with them, and those who are mistreated, since you also are in the body. Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous. Keep your life free from love of money, and be content with what you have, for he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. This part here. So we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper, I will not fear. What can man do to me? So remember, if somebody's in prison, biblically it says, pray for them. Keep them in your mind as though you're in prison with them. So I pray for this pastor. I pray for you guys watching this. And I just pray for the current situation going on in our world, that people's eyes and hearts would be opened to being thoughtful, to hearing people out, to understanding where people are coming from. And that's all I want. So with that being said, guys, I hope you have a great day. I hope God blesses you in unimaginable ways, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye. Oh, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. The subscriber count has been going up. That is much appreciated. We love you guys, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.